The world's top economies explained in 9 minutes. There are between 186 and 192 countries in the world in 2019, depending on who you ask. In this case, we will be asking the United Nations, as they seem to be pretty reputable and have a good handle on this whole country business. So let's get cracking on the largest 50 economies in the world today. Before continuing, dear viewers, if you appreciate the content of this video and are satisfied with it, we invite you to consider the option of subscribing to our channel or supporting us with a donation. Your support is essential for the growth and constant improvement of our channel, and it will allow us to continue producing high-quality content for you. You can do it here below, through the appropriate buttons, subscribe, and thanks. By far the biggest economy in the world is the United States of America, with an annual GDP of $21.3 trillion. It also holds the title of the single most wealthy and powerful state in human history. Its sports industry alone is larger than the GDP of more than half of the countries on Earth, clocking in at a $75 billion annual figure. This puts it ahead of the GDP figures of countries like Lebanon, Uruguay, and Luxembourg. Hot on the heels of the USA is China, a country that has been the miracle of the 21st century. Its rapid industrialization has been responsible for pulling over 1 billion people out of global poverty. The country's building to accommodate this growth has been so extreme that it used more concrete in the last 3 years than the United States did throughout the entire 20th century. Japan is the third largest economy in the world, despite not really doing anything for the past 30 years. The country has gotten really old and really bad at competing with its new Asian rivals. Germany is the economic powerhouse of the European Union. They make great cars, great highways, and most importantly, they are the world leader in zoos, more zoos than the rest of Europe combined. The United Kingdom. Let's get back to this one in 4 months' time. France's biggest industries in order consist of services, tourism, writing, and manufacturing. India is another country whose economic growth has seen millions of people lifted from absolute poverty. It is the definition of a transitioning economy, with over half of its population still working in agriculture. But even with its massive growth and immense population, its economy is still small in the state of California. Brazil is a state blessed by natural resources and cursed by corruption. Brazil has had a rough time being pushed around by literally every major power in the world, from Spain to Portugal to the United States. Everybody has had to say in what Brazil does, but it kind of got back at us by burning down its own backyard. Italy is still a very large manufacturing country that boasts the second most pizza shops per capita in the world. Canada, America on easy mode, enjoys economic prosperity while avoiding economic boss fights like crippling student loan debt and a privatized healthcare system. South Korea is another high-growth economy, although this time the boom seems to be fueled by small cars, mobile phones, and professional gamers. Russia is an economy that is surprisingly small compared to how much attention it gets. It's primarily reliant on the extraction of natural resources and foreign intelligence data. Australia is home to the richest population of people in the world. We have explored this one more in depth on the channel before, and the link is in the video description. Spain, tourism, manufacturing, and the beta test for Mexico. Mexico is basically Spain 2.0, with a GDP figure of $1.2 trillion. It is the 15th largest economy in the world, but by some estimates, if you were to include illicit transactions in the figure, its economy would be more in line with South Korea as the 11th largest economy in the world. Indonesia is a rapidly growing economy that has used its natural resources as a solid foundation to build an increasingly diverse economy. Turkey is the first country on our list to fall below the annual GDP figure of $1 trillion. The Netherlands is pretty much an economy run by overachieving nerds that kind of insist on doing everything right. Saudi Arabia is home to the world's tallest building and the world's most profitable company, Saudi Aramco, which generated profits greater than Apple, Amazon, and Google combined in 2018. Switzerland, chocolates, watches, and questionable banking policies. Argentina is the world's leader in presidential turnover and for footballers. Sweden is the most generous country in the world, with over 1% of its GDP being made up of donations. And also, it is the largest holder of North Korean sovereign debt, so make of that what you will. Poland is Europe's biggest video game producer. Belgium is home to the largest chocolate market in the world and all around Germany light. In fact, this is not Belgium's flag. It's actually just Germany's flag turned sideways. This is Belgium's flag. Iran, oil and instability. Thailand is the only Southeast Asian country to never be colonized by Europeans and the country that inspired Red Bull. Don't think that they avoided European pillaging entirely, though, because Austria was actually the birthplace of Red Bull. After the energy drink's popularity was seen in Thailand, it is today the best-selling energy drink in the world. Norway, Mr. Greed to shoes with the fat bank account. The link is in the description for a video detailing what Norway has been doing with itself. The United Arab Emirates is an oil-rich economy that has the lowest rate of citizens to the total population in the world, with expat workers making up more than 80% of the total population of the country. Nigeria, scams and surprisingly good internet. Israel, despite its tenuous past and less than accommodating neighbors, still powers along, fueled by tourism and weapons manufacturing. South Africa is the single most unequal country on earth. South Africa has been marred by social injustices throughout its history, but that did not stop with the apartheid. Over 4 million people still live on less than $1 a day in South Africa, while an increasingly secluded, mostly white upper class hoard more and more of the country's wealth. Iceland is the intellectual property capital of the world and coincidentally the world's largest private bank account. Denmark, Lego. Singapore is home to expensive cars, the largest airline-to-population ratio in the world, and high finance services. Malaysia is home to mid-range fine services. The Philippines is the world's home of low-range financial services. If you have ever filled out an extensive bureaucratic piece of financial paperwork, there is an incredibly good chance it was checked and processed in Manila, the capital city of the Philippines. Colombia is an economy mostly reliant on the export of oil, raw materials, and coffee. Pakistan is the home of the biggest black market in the world. By some estimates, over 40% of business done in Pakistan is undocumented. Chile is home to the world's largest simple and coincidentally the world's driest desert. Venezuela. Yeah. This right here is what you do not do when you discover oil in your country. Bangladesh is the most densely populated non-micronation on Earth that is thankfully also home to the most fertile farmland on Earth. Vietnam is the world's leader in cashew nut exports and the world's second largest coffee producer, only just losing out to Brazil, a country over 25 times its size. The Czech Republic, amongst all the underperforming economies in Europe, is bucking the trend and growing at unprecedented rates despite the uncertainty in the region. Romania, following in the footsteps of the Czech Republic, is actually the fastest growing economy in all of Europe, with year-on-year growth consistently over 6%. Peru, tourism, llamas, and tourists looking at llamas. Greece is the most not MVP of the European Union. New Zealand is a great case study of how mean and median averages are often not the greatest indication of sensible averages. The average New Zealander owns 7 sheep according to mean data, but the average New Zealander owns 0 sheep according to median data. All of which is obviously very silly, but yeah, the takeaway is that New Zealand still has a lot of sheep, and you should learn how to lie with statistics. Egypt, solid architecture, less solid political structure. We would like to know about your experience regarding the topic covered today. Share it with us in the comments and, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them. We will gladly respond. Your like would be a source of satisfaction for us, and of course, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming publications.